why are you running for Ashtabula County Commissioner?
That's always a good place to start, right? A couple different reasons, Mr. West. And first of all, I'd like to thank you for taking the time to interview me today. I very much enjoyed my time in service as a president of Ashtabula City Council. Felt like I've got to a point where there's not a whole lot more that we can do in that specific position. I think I'd like to take some of the positive things we've done and some of the successes and hopefully do them on a more county-wide level. It's been 30 years or more since we've had a city resident representing us on the level of county commissioner. And I think it's important for the largest city and the largest county in the state of Ohio to have some representation in that place. Beyond that, I think it's just more similar reasons to why I chose to run for city council. I have 3 young children that are 10, 8, and 5, and I really want to see Ashtabula be a better place for them by the time they get old enough to make a decision of where they want to live. I'd love to have them choose Ashtabula County as a place to call home. And I think we have the ability to get things turned around here in the next 10 or 15 years to a point that we can make it an even better place to live than it is now.
What are some of your accomplishments as the City Council President?
Well, I think one of the big challenges we had, and this is not something, this is a collective effort, but I feel very proud to have been a part of it. It seemed like we were very dysfunctional as a city council. There was constant, accusations being thrown around, requests for investigations, a lot of animosity and tension and dissension between council and the administration. And I think in the last 5 years we've been very fortunate to work much better together. We can agree to disagree. When we do it, we can do it respectfully. We can handle those things behind closed doors and not have it become a 3-ring circus or an embarrassment on the council floor. And I think that certainly goes a long way, just making a more positive outlook and appearance for the community. When your headlines every week in the newspaper, show, council calling each other out for, conduct that they don't feel is becoming, or, something being done inappropriately, it's really hard to explain that and to attract new business and people that want to make investments in the community. So I think that was a great start, and we've been able to do that well. Other things, we've done a lot of cleanup in the community. A lot of that's been through the Planning and Community Development Department and grants we've been able to obtain, things that the Land Bank is working on now, of which the city manager is on the board of. We've removed over 100 dilapidated structures, continually trying to do that with commercial structures too. We were able to get the West Elementary School building finally down through some work with the EPA. Hopefully we can get something similar done with the Carlisle's building. And tried to work on a lot of just smaller group neighborhood cleanups with the A100, with various volunteer groups in the community. Recently, through the Lions Club and the Municipal Court, we've sort of worked together with them to get people that need to serve community service time or have fines that need to be paid to the court out on the streets working and doing cleanups once a week on Mondays. Those are small things, but it's hopeful that program will continue to grow, either to more days of the week or more hours of the day, and hopefully more participants. But at least those people are out making the community a better place as a part of repaying their debt to society. So, those are some of the things, legislation-wise, which is really ultimately what council's biggest responsibility is. We were able to move forward with getting our police levy passed to make our community a safer place. We have put some tax abatement incentives in place for businesses to make it more advantageous for them to expand and hire more people or expand their businesses. Those have been beneficial to a couple of the larger employers in our community. It's a collective effort. Certainly I couldn't accomplish any of those things by myself, and I'm grateful to have a good team of us at council, as well as with the manager and solicitor, clerk of council, and the finance director working together to make these things happen.
If elected county commissioner, what would you do differently than what's being done now?
Well, one of the things that I'd like to see is we're going to have to do some more. Something's going to have to be done with our jail. I think everybody acknowledges that, whether it's building new or refurbishing what we have. We need to do something that's going to kind of be both a jail modification, but combined with more of a treatment type component. I know there's grant funds that are available for that, which probably are not going to be as available if you were just a jail-only type facility. We know that our drug opioid problem, heroin problem is be devastating to our community. That would be a very proactive way that we could kind of help to begin to combat that and do more than what we're currently able to do. I'd like to see us utilize a lot of the buildings that we have. Either if we as a county own them, then we either need to try to get them occupied and utilize them, or get them off the books to somebody else who may be willing to do so. I don't really believe in building new structures if you have an existing structure that can meet your needs. Because you build a new structure and then you still have an empty one sitting there. I'd like to rather solve two problems at once instead of just fix one thing at a time, if you're able to do so. I'd also like to really look at our building department and see if we can find ways to streamline how we go through the permitting process and assisting businesses when they want to grow and expand. That's one of the very large complaints that I hear from builders and contractors and businesses in the area is how long it takes and how cumbersome the process is of just trying to grow and expand your business. I know there are a lot of things that we seem to have to outsource as opposed to finding a way to bring in-house. There's a lot of different places that you have to go and people that you have to deal with. And I really believe that there must be a better way that process can work to make Ashtabula more business friendly. I think that would really go a long way with helping us grow economically.
Are there any buildings that you're aware of that are owned by the county that are not being used?
Well, one which I believe they have now just since divested of was the old Department of Job and Family Services building, which is on Main Avenue. I know that the county has been moving forward with the plans to build this 911 centralized dispatch center, which I believe is going to be located out on the ATEC property. It's going to be a brand new building. As a president of City Council and looking at how much we need a shot in the arm and to fix up some of these vacant structures on Main Avenue, I don't see why that wouldn't have been a perfect structure that could have been used in order to create that facility instead of building something new on property that the county doesn't necessarily own. That's one example. I don't know the inventory of all the rest of the county buildings. I just know as a countywide we have a lot of vacant buildings, and also, if it's not a county-owned building, when new businesses come in and want to expand and grow, it would be great if we could steer them towards, either tearing down an existing building to relocate their new building or get them to occupy an empty building as opposed to just building new.
You mentioned that the jail obviously needs some work done on it one way or the other to improve the status. And then there's the budget battle with the sheriff's department. That it seems to be a very recurring thing, him needing more money, the budget battle itself. How would you address that?
Well, I believe in cooperative resolutions to problems. I don't think you ever, take off from one place to try to go someplace else. I think everybody has to, hurt a little bit for the common good. We have to find ways to fund our law enforcement. There's just no question about that. My first approach would be to talk with each of the departments and find out, do they have ways that they think that they can, trim their budgets at all? Probably everybody's going to say that they want more. Everybody can't have more. And what are the things that, we collectively can see and try to point out and work together on fixing? Obviously, if we can grow jobs and grow our economy in the county, everybody will have a little bit more money to work with. Also, I'd like to see us finding ways to get our debt paid down more, so that it's not a short-term solution, but long-term it allows us to be in a position to be better funded to help fund these departments if we don't have so much debt we have to carry. I'm a very fiscally conservative person, and I try to avoid, if you don't have money, trying not to spend it, or spend it in a very conservative manner. So there's a couple different ways to do it that I know have been discussed. I don't know if there's going to be any one way that's going to be the ultimate fix, but it's going to be hard. And I think the people of the community recognize what a problem it is, and whether it has to come in the form of a sales tax, or it's some sort of a property tax, or whatever it is. I think citizens recognize that if we don't do something to deal with our crime, opioid addiction issue, and the jail and how it relates to those things, and treatment and rehabilitation, we're going to have a really hard time climbing our way out of the problems that we have in the county. So I think those are things that people will support if they know what they're getting for their investment.
Do you see any programs becoming available to help students at risk in the schools? I know that is an area that's been hurting for funding for some time. Mm-hmm. And that, at least in my own point of opinion, that is where you can start addressing the problem, is as early as grade school. Mm-hmm. You see any funding coming that way, or you have any initiatives in mind for that?
Well, there are several entities out there that I think are really working to do that and expand the scope that they can influence. After School Discovery, which is under the direction of Rich Recker right now, they are really trying to step up their game, with fundraising, grant resourcing, public-private partnerships, and really trying to get more of a community service-minded approach. And get the community to buy into what they're doing. And their enrichment programs are really exactly what you're talking about. It's kids that maybe don't have a family to go home to after school. They're in a situation where they can be exposed to a crowd that is doing not desirable things, and it gives them something positive to work on. It teaches them life skills. It shows them a broader picture than what they may have to see in their housing development, or in the neighborhood where they may live, or the street corners that their friends are hanging out on. And those type of things are just so invaluable, and I don't think we can give them enough support, and have to continue to look for ways to fund those type of programs. Obviously, at the school level, that broken system is out of control really at the county level, but that's something that we have to continue to get our state to try to find a way to fix, and the unconstitutional funding of the schools. But I also starting to see, in other places in the county where, the communities are really taking a more proactive role, especially through some of the churches. The New Leaf Center over there in Conneaut, I had a nice visit with Brendan Mullins here the other day, and some of the things that they're doing is just, really remarkable. And they're getting these kids into, fifth quarter after the football games, and making sure that they're in a positive environment, and, giving them the ability to have a place to go. They know it's safe, they can interact, they can get, something that's nourishing, or at least be safe, without having to worry about who they're dealing with, or who they're going to run across. So, that's a great opportunity, I think, for any of our churches to continue to expand those type of programs, the enrichment programs through the schools. And then I think, we as citizens need to try to help those entities exist, whether that's by funding, or whether that's just by being a volunteer. Big Brothers Big Sisters is another perfect example. They have really been working hard to expand their reach here into Ashtabula County. They've been a little more successful and more active in Lake and Geauga, but they've really worked hard to try to put mentors together with at-risk kids here in Ashtabula. So folks that are out there, you can make a difference. It doesn't cost you anything to give a couple hours of your time every week to try to be a positive influence on a kid. The research is phenomenal on what a difference it makes to have a mentor for a kid that may not have a father or a mother figure in the home, and how it improves their grades, reduces the chance that they may become involved with drugs or alcohol, increases the chances of them getting a high school diploma and furthering their education. And those things can happen with just, volunteering a couple hours a week to a kid that may not have anybody else to look up to. So,
What is your feelings or opinion about the county being involved with the lodge, nursing home, Plant C?
well, I am a proponent of the lodge. I was one of the first wedding receptions that was held at the lodge. I think it's a beautiful facility. One of the things I would like to see happen is maybe bringing in some outside professional negotiators to deal with some of these contracts that we have for management of the lodge. Those are things that are not strong points of mine, and I think that there may be opportunities there where we could, save money. I think that Delaware North has done a tremendous job with the lodge, but they also, I think, have a pretty sweet deal in return on how they're compensated, while the taxpayers of the county continue to, fund that project. There's no question the positive economic effect that it has in our community, and what a wonderful resource it is for us to have, and a catalyst for, tourism and development. As opposed to, having to refurbish, every room every 5 years, in a room in a facility that's already probably nicer than any other hotel in Ashtabula County and probably any other state lodge in the state of Ohio. Maybe we could do it every 7 or 8 or 10 years, and sink some of that, reinvest it back into the debt service on the property, or some of the other things that could be done there. So those are just some ideas I have with the lodge. Certainly it's a great asset to the community. As it comes to the nursing home, Ashtabula County Nursing Home, again, another wonderful asset for our community. But I'm not really sure what degree the county commissioner's office has as far as expertise in operating a business that's mostly privatized. So again, I think that's something we would have to look at. It's an enterprise fund, as I understand. So it's not like we can really use it to make money for the county. And if it's something that has the potential to create, a liability or a risk for us, or anything that we're challenging to try to get at full capacity and census, I really think we have to evaluate whether that's the business model that we want to be into, and turn that maybe over to somebody who would be a little bit better. Plant C is a little bit more of a unique situation. I think our involvement in acquisition of Plant C was to save a lot of jobs, to provide water to some of our major industrial companies. Again, I think long term we just have to look at, does it make sense for us to continue to do that? Are any of those companies interested in doing that? I don't really have so much of a problem with it, but I think you have to weigh all the pros and the cons. Was this just a short-term solution, or is this going to be a permanent and long-term solution for us? And what kind of investments are we going to have to make to keep those properties up? And what's that going to mean to the taxpayers of the county?
Dealing with mandates when it comes to the budget, how difficult is that?
Well, it's certainly difficult. It's always unfortunate when the government hands down a requirement for you and doesn't give you the resources to do it. When we're already, trying to make things happen on a shoestring budget, and then somebody else tells you have to do something more than what you're already doing, but they don't give you the resources to do it. At the city level, we have noticed some things that are going to be affecting us here in the next year or two, with the change in how income tax is going to become collected. The city used to be able used to not have a loss carry forward for companies. So now they're going to allow companies to go back as far as 5 years to carry forward losses that they had, that will impact the collections that we've had. We've had reductions and cuts in our government, local government funds, and we keep continuing to hear what the county, how the state of Ohio has recovered so well, and we've got such a large rainy day fund, and we're so much more healthy economically. But I don't really feel that, certainly our residents in Ashtabula aren't. We lost $500,000 in a local government fund, but then we had to go and ask the voters for $500,000 to fund an expansion of our police force because we couldn't afford to continue to pay for the staffing levels that we needed. So the local taxpayer really didn't see a savings, but the governor touts say that he's really balanced the budget, and that's really unfortunate because. At the local level, we can make things happen and do things that make a difference in people's lives with those funds. Whether it's impacting infrastructure or staffing or programs, even if it was our schools, there's just so many things that I think if we had a little more control over and had the authority to spend those resources instead of having them sit down there to make the governor's office look good, it could make a big difference here in our community.
The national election is quite contentious.
Okay.
And I talked to Commissioner Carlo about it, so I'm going to ask everybody the same.
Please feel free to.
Okay. Are you supportive of the Republican Party's nominee for president?
Well, I would have to say that I am disappointed in both nominees. I don't really consider myself a very political person, so I really believe in voting for the person more for the party, especially at the local level. On the national level, I will certainly exercise my right to vote, but there are many things that I'm not pleased with our nominee. There are certainly things that I'm not very pleased with the Democratic nominee. I think it'll be very interesting to see what kind of traction some of these third-party candidates get this year if they're afforded some of the national press coverage that the Republican and Democratic candidates have been given, because I know people are, I know people are not happy, and I know people want to change, and I think that's really the message that this election has brought, is that people want change, but we've got a lot of undesirable traits with a couple of our primary candidates, which is really unfortunate.
Are you a member of the Tea Party?
No, not officially. I am a fiscally conservative and probably very liberal social issue person. I don't ever really consider that I fall into a strong set parameters or box of any political party. I think it's unfortunate that in this day and age you have to be stereotyped in having certain beliefs on various topics just because you may have an R or a D as a party affiliation following your name. I think that's a cop-out for a lot of people to not really get to know who their candidates are, and I think that that's unfortunate. So, I think in a lot of ways the Tea Party has been good because again it's tried to push forward change, and it's tried to bring some ideas back that may have been forgotten. I think debate is always healthy, so I think anytime we're going to bring up topics and give people choices, that's good. But I wish people didn't have to fall into very stereotypical boxes when it comes to what their party affiliation is.
Why should Ashtabula resident vote for J.P. Ducro?
If you're a city resident, I would certainly hope it would be because you would want, as a city resident, to have a voice of somebody who is also a citizen of the city of Ashtabula like yourself. As a county resident, I think you can look, at a little more broader perspective. We have been, my family has been business owners and operators here in Ashtabula County for 163 years. I'm a fifth generation officer in our family business as a funeral director. We have dealt with the challenges of operating business and meeting budgets, every day, every year. You know, if we don't have it to spend, then we find a way to, you know, to do something different. And there's a lot of times that you have to be creative when you do that when you're in business. You don't always have a pool of money that you can run to bail you out. And you certainly can't go back to the taxpayers and ask you to do it all the time either. So, you know, I think having business sense and having been able to grow and expand a business that we have has, you know, given me a good experience to have take that scale to a broader level. You know, my life has been about, my professional career has been about service to the community. I don't really think public service as an elected official is a whole lot different, and I would always look at it that way. You know, people that know me, that send messages to me, whether it's via Facebook or a text or they call the office, you know, I'm always diligent about trying to get back to them. I may not be able to give them the answer that they like or that they want to hear, but I will certainly do everything in my power to give them an answer or get them to a person that can. You know, I think that is certainly very important, you know, trying to be responsive as you can to your constituents. I'm not a lifelong politician. I don't have any interest or desire in being a lifelong politician. I want to make things better for our community, for my family, for your family, and those are the things that I'm most committed to. So, you know, hopefully other people will want to follow suit and follow in my footsteps and be public servants, and I'd be more than happy to pass the torch. And if someone were to take my position at a later date, whether I, you know, chose not to run again or you know, had to resign, I would want to share everything with them that I knew and that I had learned during my time in office. I was very fortunate when I came into the city council position. Mr. Brockway was incredibly gracious to do that for me, and I know many other elected officials, when they no longer hold their seat, a lot of times they take the information that they had with them and don't share it with the next person that's filling the seat, and I think that's really a tragedy. You know, the information that you have is what's helpful to make the community a better place. So I would always want to share that.
Is there anything you'd like to tell the voters of Ashtabula County before this election?
Well, I would say that if you are discouraged and disgusted with what's happening at the national level, don't let that affect what you do on election day. You know, exercise your right to vote, and no matter who is elected president, it may not change a lot of things in the lives of the people that live in Ashtabula County, but I do believe that the people that represent you here in Ashtabula County that are on the ground doing the legwork have the ability to make a change in the quality of life for you. You know, that's what I'm committed to try and do. You know, I'm doing that because I live here too, and I want things to be better for, you know, for myself, my family, my friends, the people that we care about and try to serve on a daily basis. So I think that may be one of the most important messages to take with you is that, you know, be sure to educate yourself on who the people are that you are voting for, and if you're not satisfied with who your choices are as you go up to the state and the federal level and for the President of the United States, don't let that affect you know, what you do when you go out and you look at who your county commissioner or your council person or your trustee is, because they have the ability to really impact what happens for you and your family on a day-to-day basis.